It's 3:47 a.m. I'm hiding in what used to be the maternity ward. Something just walked past the door. I heard footsteps. Actual footsteps. And here's the thing nobody tells you about abandoned hospitals. They're never really abandoned. Stay with me, because what happened in the next 24 hours changed everything I thought I knew about fear. Let me ask you something. Right now, you're probably sitting somewhere comfortable. Maybe your bedroom, maybe your living room. Safe, warm, normal. Now imagine this. Fluorescent lights flickering like a broken heartbeat. The smell of decay mixed with old antiseptic. And hallways that stretch into darkness so thick you could swim through it. Welcome to St. Mary's Hospital. Closed in 1987. Forgotten by everyone. Except apparently whatever decided to make it home. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Spending 24 hours in an abandoned hospital wasn't on my bucket list. It was on my absolutely never in a million years list. But here's what happens when you run a channel about exploring the unexplored. Your audience starts calling your bluff. You're scared, they said. You won't do it, they typed with their Cheeto-stained fingers. Well, guess what, keyboard warriors? Challenge accepted. But let's rewind. Let's talk about why abandoned hospitals hit different than any other abandoned place. It's not just the creepy factor, though, trust me, that's off the charts. It's the emotional residue. Think about it. Hospitals are where life begins and ends, where people experience their best days and their absolute worst. All that energy, all those emotions, soaking into the walls like water into a sponge. And when everyone leaves, that energy doesn't just evaporate, it lingers. It waits. St. Mary's was a 300-bed facility that served the community for over 60 years. Thousands of babies born, thousands of lives saved, and yes, thousands who didn't make it. The hospital closed after a malpractice scandal that I won't get into now, but let's just say the last 6 months of operation involved more lawsuits than patients. When they locked the doors for the final time, they left everything behind. Medical equipment, patient files scattered like autumn leaves, even gurneys in the hallways, frozen mid-journey to nowhere. My research told me the building had been explored by urban explorers before. But here's the thing about urban explorer blogs. They visit for 2 hours max, take their aesthetic photos, and bounce before sunset. Nobody stays overnight. Nobody commits to the full 24 hours. Why? Because the stories that come out of this place aren't the fun kind of spooky. They're the I need therapy now kind of spooky. So here I am, 6 p.m. on a Friday, pulling up to what looks like a gothic nightmare had a baby with a concrete prison. The building is massive. 4 stories of crumbling brick and broken windows that stare at you like empty eye sockets. The parking lot is a graveyard of broken glass and weeds pushing through asphalt cracks. There's graffiti everywhere, but not the artistic kind. The angry kind, the desperate kind. Words I won't repeat on a family-friendly channel. My equipment? 1 backpack with 2 flashlights, because one is none. Extra batteries, horror movie rule number 1. A first aid kit, ironic I know. Water protein bars that taste like cardboard, my camera, a portable charger, and, don't judge me, a baseball bat. For protection, I told myself. Protection from what exactly? Great question. Didn't have an answer then. Definitely have theories now. The entrance was easier to access than I expected. Someone had already pried open the emergency exit door on the east side. It groaned like an old man getting out of bed as I pushed it open. The smell hit me first. Mildew, rust, and something sweet that made my stomach turn. You know that smell. The one that makes your brain scream danger, even though you can't quite identify it. Inside, the decay was beautiful in a horrifying way. Nature had started reclaiming the building. Vines crawled through broken windows like skeletal fingers. The linoleum floors, once probably white, were now a palette of browns and greens and mysterious stains I chose not to investigate. Papers everywhere. Medical charts with actual patient names and information just scattered. I couldn't help but read one. Patient, Margaret Chen, age 34, admitted for complications during childbirth. Below that, someone had written in red pen, Code Blue, 11:47 p.m. Nothing else. Just that. Just the moment everything changed for someone. The first hour was almost boring. I explored the ground floor, checking out the reception area where the desk still had a 1987 calendar frozen on March. There was a waiting room with chairs arranged like they were expecting patients any minute, a children's play area with faded toys, a headless teddy bear, puzzle pieces scattered like confetti, the cafeteria where trays were still stacked, waiting for a lunch rush that would never come. But as the sun started setting and the natural light began dying, the building transformed. Shadows grew longer, deeper, more aggressive. Every sound amplified. That's when I realized my first major mistake. I should have scoped out my base camp while I still had daylight. Now I was walking through darkening hallways with only my flashlight, trying to find somewhere defensible to spend the night. I chose the third-floor nurses' station. Corner position, good sight lines, only 2 entry points I needed to watch. Smart, right? Tactical. That's what I told myself while setting up my sleeping bag on a countertop because there was no way I was sleeping on that floor. 8 p.m. Still feeling confident. I'm munching on my cardboard protein bar, filming some B-roll, talking to the camera about architectural decay, playing it cool. Then my flashlight catches something. Room 304. The door is slightly open, moving, just barely, swaying like someone just walked through it. It's just air pressure, I said out loud, to myself. Because that's what sane people do in abandoned hospitals. There's no wind. The windows in the hallway are intact. But sure, air pressure. Great theory. I should have ignored it. Every horror movie ever made taught me to ignore it. But content is content, right? Riso nervoso. So I walked toward room 304. The door stopped moving the moment I got close. Inside, a standard patient room. Bed frame rusted to hell. A wheelchair facing the corner like someone put it in timeout. And on the wall, scratched into the paint. She's still in the basement. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Not ominous at all. Midnight. This is when things got weird. I'm trying to sleep. Emphasis on trying. When I hear it. Singing. A woman's voice, faint, coming from somewhere below me. It's not a song I recognize. It's not quite English, it's not quite anything. Just melodic sounds that make my skin crawl and my brain hurt at the same time. I grabbed my camera. Documentation over sanity, that's the YouTuber way. I followed the sound down to the second floor. The singing stopped the moment I reached the stairwell. But now I heard something else. Wheels squeaking, like a gurney being pushed, getting closer. Here's where I need you to understand something. I'm not easily scared. I've explored abandoned prisons, asylums, even a morgue once. But this was different, because the gurney sounds weren't random. They were deliberate. They were paced. They were coming toward me. I ran. Not gonna lie about that. I sprinted back to my third-floor safe space like an Olympic athlete, locked myself in the nurse's station using a chair wedged under the door handle. And then I waited. The squeaking stopped right outside. For 5 minutes, I timed it. Something was on the other side of that door, waiting, listening. Then it laughed. Not a human laugh, not an animal laugh. Something in between that made every hair on my body stand at attention. And then, silence. Complete, absolute, suffocating silence. 3 a.m. The witching hour, if you believe in that stuff. I didn't. Past tense. Because at exactly 3 a.m., every door on the third floor slammed shut simultaneously. Bang, 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 bang. Like dominoes made of nightmares. I'm talking perfect synchronization. No wind, no explanation. Just doors deciding collectively that they were done being open. My camera caught it all. The footage is in this video. You'll see. You'll hear. And you probably won't believe it. I barely believe it. And I was there. 5 a.m. I hadn't slept. Couldn't sleep. Wouldn't sleep. My eyes felt like sandpaper. My nerves were shot, and I'd gone through both flashlight batteries. But sunrise was coming. I could see the faintest gray light starting to push through the windows. Almost made it. Almost survived. That's when I heard the crying. A child. Sobbing. Coming from the pediatric ward on the 4th floor. And look, I know what you're thinking. Don't go toward the creepy child crying. Believe me, my brain was screaming that exact advice, but something about that sound. It wasn't scary. It was heartbreaking. It was desperate. It was real. I found myself climbing those stairs. The 4th floor was worse than the others. More decay. More darkness. More of that sweet rot smell that I'd started to realize was mold mixed with who knows what else. The pediatric ward doors were hanging off their hinges. Inside, rooms painted with faded cartoon characters. A playroom with toys covered in dust so thick they looked like gray ghosts of themselves. Room 401. That's where the crying was coming from. The door had a window, and through the grime I could see nothing. Empty room. But the crying continued. I opened the door. The room was freezing. I could see my breath. In the corner, someone had arranged stuffed animals in a circle. In the center of that circle, a child's hospital gown. Folded. Pristine. Like it had just been laundered. On the wall above it, written in what I hope was marker. I waited for Mommy, but she never came back. The crying stopped. 6:30 a.m., sunrise. I made it. 24 hours in St. Mary's Hospital, and I was still breathing, still sane, debatable, still alive. As I walked out that emergency exit into the golden morning light, I turned back for one last look. In a 4th floor window, I saw something. Someone. A figure. Just standing there. Watching. I raised my camera. Through the zoom lens, I could see it clearly. A woman in a nurse's uniform. 1980s style. She raised her hand, and she waved. I checked the hospital records later. 3 nurses died in St. Mary's during its operation. One in 1987, the year it closed. Her name was Patricia Moreno. She had a heart attack during her night shift. They found her at the 3rd floor nurses' station, where I spent the night. So would you survive 24 hours in an abandoned hospital? After everything I experienced, I'm not sure survive is even the right word. I existed there for 24 hours. I endured. But something in that building is still existing too. Still enduring. Still waiting for the next visitor who's brave or stupid enough to stay past dark. If you made it to the end of this video, you're either genuinely interested in the paranormal or you hate sleeping. Either way, you're my people. Hit that subscribe button because next month, we're exploring an abandoned asylum that makes this hospital look like a daycare. Ring the notification bell unless you want to miss me potentially losing my mind on camera. Drop a comment. What's the creepiest abandoned place in your area? Maybe I'll visit. Maybe I'll regret it. But that's content, baby. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and for the love of all that's holy, if you hear singing in an abandoned building, don't follow it.